My name is Nima. I'm named, of course, after Nima Yushij, the father of modern Iranian poetry and famous nature poet. When I was 14, my first serious girlfriend told me she always thought she'd be with the guy who played the guitar. So, bought my first guitar. I actually got into a car accident with that guitar. I was apprenticing as a baker. I worked all night long and I had another job. So I fell asleep at the wheel in the car because I had been baking bread from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. I hit a guardrail and I ripped the top off the guardrail, and the post of the guardrail came through the bottom of my piece of shit $200 car and went through the hard shell case of my guitar, through the guitar itself, to the other side of the hard shell case, and missed me by about 2 feet. There are three main themes that pop up in my work. Work, love, and you could say politics, you could say liberation might be a better word for it. And I think I'm trying to communicate all three of those themes without preaching about any of them. I think ultimately that's my goal. I'm not trying to preach to any choir. Ultimately, it's very important to me that the art is the thing that comes first, that when you listen to one of my songs, the first thing that happens is you enjoy the song. My father had a country, but the government was taken, the citizens forsaken by the dignity of God. When a holy man in exile put a bullet through the peacock throne, my father fled to San Antone with the puppet master's daughter. He had been rich, ain't rich no more. He made money off the spoils of a long-forgotten war. So he moved to California in the ass crack of the 80s with his wife and little babies for to start his life again. A bitter taste was tethered to his tongue by revolution, and his immigrant solution was to rent an ice cream parlor. It would be sweet, cold peace of mind. He made flavors from the memories of a home he left behind. California, sour cherries, pomegranate, Bastoni, watermelon, and persimmons color his American dreams. I always loved music. I was raised by my mother. She also loved music, old country, Randy Travis, the Beatles, you know, music from folk music of that era, and also country. And my father loved Persian music, mostly from the LA scene, but also some more classical stuff from Iran. And I grew up loving music. My parents split up, and on long bus rides from Boston to upstate New York, I eventually had a cassette Walkman. I just wear out old Beatles tapes and things like that. Someone asked Paul McCartney why he thought the Beatles were so successful, and he said, you know, pretty much all of our songs were about love. It's so fundamental to humanness and human beings. Our need to be loved is surpassed only by our need to love, the experience of getting to love. And I think people are afraid of sounding like a hippie, or afraid of sounding like it's just a bunch of bullshit and it's just words. But really, I think the real power of a human being to care about another human being, it can free a mind. It's, you know, more powerful than guns, and you know, both inside of ourselves and out in the world. I think that's probably the most important work we have to do. You know, I was raised, of my 4 grandparents, a Muslim, a Jew, a Catholic, a Protestant. My father's 2 parents, his mother was born Jewish, converted to Islam. And I was raised by my Catholic mother with more exposure to Judaism than anything else, but with a very Muslim identity. If you had asked me growing up, what's your religion, I would have told you Muslim. And similarly with poetry, you know, I knew that I was named after Nima Yushij. I knew I was named after this famous poet. So I grew up with this pride in poetry that was very much tied to my Iranian identity. the Sufi perspective, you know, the experiential nature of Sufism and the explicit and visceral love for God in Sufism as a reflection of your love and relationships with other vital human beings. This really inspired me. And, you know, I believe very much that the personal is political. So, you know, as much of my personal story that goes into the song, I hope and I expect that there's also the politics of the fight against racism and xenophobia and class oppression and misogyny and sexism. I mean, basically everything that our new administration is attacking people on the basis of, I mean, for my music to stand up against. Being Jewish, Muslim, Catholic, and Protestant has affected my outlook on life. And part of fighting to hold on to my identity as an Iranian-American has also been fighting to understand that you don't have to choose. You get to be 100% of all of your parts. One of my favorite things anybody ever said about racism is the comedian Hari Kondabolu says people are always criticizing him for being obsessed with racism in America. And he said, accusing me of being obsessed with racism in America is like accusing me of swimming while I'm drowning. As Nima Samimi, partly there's the feeling non-Iranians and non-immigrants have of kind of just the fear of the other in general. But also I think it makes people uncomfortable when they don't know where to place you. And, you know, my name is Nima. Most people don't know what kind of name that is. I used to wait tables, and I would walk up to the table and say, hi, my name is Nima. And people made so many jokes about my name. I just got so tired of it. So I started to introduce myself by my grandfather's name, which was Muhammad. And, you know, people didn't have shit to say to a Muhammad. And I did that, and there was a way I could wear the name. You know, I love my name Nima, but there was a way I could wear that name proudly, especially because kind of it's a homage to my grandfather, who I never met. You know, I was sort of crafting this character in Muhammad VII, who's sort of a Middle Eastern everyman that you don't necessarily know is Persian, but also it was an homage to the Sufi poets who, you know, none of them use their own names. In a sort of a meta way, my story about where Muhammad VII came from is how I have figured out to sort of rise above the message of racism, which tells me I don't have a place in American music. I think I tried really hard in the beginning to be somebody I wasn't. I think I thought and I believe that in order to make music in the United States, you had to, you know, I was trying to emulate what I saw, which everything seemed more American than I was. I wasn't good at being cool in the American way. I wasn't good at assimilating. It was discouraging to be an artist and to want so desperately not just to make art. You know, the challenge for me was to share them and to have enough confidence in myself to share them. And, you know, what I came to realize was that if I believed in myself and if I loved the music, that people would be able to relate to me even if they weren't Persian, that they would also love the music, that they would, you know, that they would like me. Here's what I'd tell a young Iranian-American person. You can do anything, number one. Don't ever let anybody tell you anything different. Whatever it is you love to do, you do that. Search out other Iranian-American artists and see what they're doing. Be inspired by them. Be inspired by artists from lots of different cultures and heritages, and see all of the beautiful examples we have in the US and around the world of people who have broken the mold and done what they wanted to do and done it their own way and succeeded with flying colors. People love things that are new and inspirational and a new take. And that can be you. If you feel discouraged, everybody feels discouraged. If you feel like you're not doing it right, everybody feels like you're not doing it right. And we have this sense like somebody, some adult, you know, when we're children and even when we're adults, we have this feeling like some adult is going to come out of the woodwork and expose you as a fraud. And, you know, that somehow you aren't the person to be able to do the thing that you're doing. And it's always bullshit. And know that that voice in your head of the fraud police can't keep up with you, that you just keep going.